Hello, AP Worlders. We are here with the early modern new networks in trade, Europe and the IOB. Alright, this is part one. During this era, empire building was seen as a positive. It was a global process. There were vast transformations that took place. Old societies were destroyed and new societies would rise. European empires in the Americas were not alone. Alright, so here's Western Europe, right? So they built these empires in the Americas. But there also was Russia, right? They're going to expand, take all this land out here. You're going to get China, the Qing dynasty in China, who are going to penetrate into here, into Asia. And then you're going to get the Mughal dynasty, which is here in South Asia, and they're going to expand. And then you're also going to get the Ottomans, who are going to be here and expand throughout here. All right, and last you'll get the Safavid Empire, which is in current day like Iraq, Iran, who are going to spread throughout there. All right, so it wasn't just the Americas where empire was going on during this time period. All right, and these empires, they're going to mix and mingle diverse people in a wide variety of ways. And new stages of globalization and new cross-cultural encounters are going to happen. The Western European empires are going to be distinct because they're going to conquer lands that are oceans away. So Russia, China, the Mughals, right? They all conquered Safavid, Turks. They all conquered land close to them. The Europeans, they're going to conquer land that's far away from them, right, across oceans, either across the Atlantic, or they're going to come into the IOB, as you can see here. So they're going to be a little bit different, the Western Europeans. But what's going to enable the Europeans to do this? First one is geography, all right? Because Europe is located here right on the Atlantic Ocean, they're going to be closer than Asia to create empires in the Americas or in Africa. Also, there's going to be winds, all right? So the winds here are going to be steady, all right? And so they're going to be able to learn the winds that's going to sail their ships here to the Americas and learn the winds to sail their ships back to Europe. And they always blow in the same direction. Unlike the winds that we know here in the IOB, the monsoon winds, they only flow a certain way for a couple months, and then they flow the opposite way a couple months, right, with those monsoon winds. So geography is going to play a part. Next is going to be technology. All right, Europe's going to build off of previous advancements that were made in the IOB with technology, and they're going to do new innovations in map making, navigation and sailing techniques, and also ship design. That's going to help them to explore. All right, the Portuguese are going to be the leader with that. All right, with Henry the Navigator starting a navigation school. All right, next we're going to have motivation. All right, Europe's going to be a lot more motivated than Asia. Asia wasn't very motivated because they got everything they needed right here in the IOB already. The Europeans were on the outside trying to find a way to get a part of that trade. So they were motivated to get goods. The European monarchs were also in a rivalry with each other. All right, so that was more motivation to try to beat the other kings to prove that they were the best. And last, the Europeans, they didn't want to have to trade with the Muslim merchants in order to get the goods from here. They wanted to find their own way to get there. All right, the Europeans are also going to be motivated by religion. All right, missionaries are going to want to spread their Christianity around the world to the savages. All right. And then they also are going to be motivated by the want for riches, all right, for gold. All right, and there's a saying, the 3 G's, where's the motivation, right? It's God, gold, and glory. Once they did get abroad to different places, their ironworking technology, their gunpowder, and their horses, especially in the Americas, was no match. And they were easily able to take advantage and gain control. They also took advantage of the division of local people. For instance, Cortez, who's going to conquer the Aztecs here, he's going to find local groups around the Aztecs, who the Aztecs had defeated in the past. He's going to get them to side with him to overtake the Aztecs. But the most significant advantage the Europeans had was germs and disease. The populations were decimated from it. In many cases, up to 90% of the natives would die from these diseases. These diminishing populations of the Americas created a labor shortage, and it made room for immigrant newcomers, whether they were the slaves coming from Africa or the Europeans coming to settle. It left a void there. The Europeans coming started what has become known as the Columbian Exchange. It is going to be an exchange of food, goods, communication, ideas from the old world, which is Eurasia, Africa, to the new world, which is the Americas. And this Columbian Exchange was not just disease, but also plants, animals. From the old world, you can see from the picture some things of note that the Europeans brought over would be wheat, rice, sugar, the animals like horses, pigs, cattle, sheep. All right, but the Europeans are going to find, especially here in the Caribbean, that the weather is good for growing sugar, and that's going to be a main crop that they're going to grow, using the slaves to come over to grow this sugar. Women in the Americas are going to lose a lot of their role as the food producers with these new goods coming from the Americas. From the New World, some foods of note that are going to come over are going to be corn, potatoes, cassava or sweet potatoes, and those foods are going to spread throughout the Old World. These foods are high in calories, and it's going to cause the population of the Old World to boom. Also, tobacco and chocolate are going to spread throughout the Old World as well. The world economy is going to be reshaped. Silver mines in the New World, such as in Mexico and Brazil, Peru, right? These silver mines are going to fuel commerce in both the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean, and it's going to change the balance of trade with China. Now the Europeans are going to be able to buy the tea, silk, and porcelain from the Chinese by trading the silver. And then also we talked about the Atlantic slave trade. That's going to create a lasting link among them. These plantation owners are going to be in need of a labor force. And the sugar and cotton that they produce, that trade is going to make an enormous profit for the Europeans. So this Columbian Exchange was a network of communication, migration, trade, disease, and transfer of both plants and animals. There's going to be a lot of long-term benefits for Western Europe. Western Europe is going to be the clear dominant greatest reward of this Columbian Exchange. The new info that's going to flood into Europe is going to lead to those movements like the scientific revolution. The wealth that the colonies are going to get from the New World are going to lead to the Industrial Revolution during the next time period. It's going to be an area of, in this time period from the Americas, it's going to be an area of rapid growing population. And the Americas is a place where some of these people with this rapid population can move to. But the biggest thing and the main thing to make sure you write down is it's going to be a change in the global balance of power. Western Europe is going to be in a commanding role now due to the Americas. While Western Europe was in the Americas, Russia became the world's largest state. A small Russian state is going to grow in the city of Moscow at the beginning of this time period. They're going to break free from Mongol rule. And then the Russians would expand all the way to the Pacific, and they would expand here in the West as well, conquering the Poles, the Germans, and then the Ukrainians. Right? Russia first, right? So Moscow is somewhere around here. Russia first is going to expand. Russia's going to expand first down here in the south, in the grassland, and they wanted then they wanted this land out here, and what's known as like Siberia, because they wanted the fur, and the fur is going to be a big profit for the Europeans. There was resistance to the Russians, but the Russian military was able to win, and the conquered people had to give an oath of allegiance and pay a tribute. The people out here, their tribute would be animal fur. All right, so similar to the Americas, epidemics are going to accompany this conquest. All right, especially for the people out in Siberia. They're going to, a lot of them in remote areas are going to die from these diseases. They also, similar to the Europeans and the Americas, are going to pressure the people out here in Siberia to convert to Christianity. They're going to end the pastoral nomads of the area. All right, so we know throughout history we've seen pastoral nomads come through. We had the Huns, all right, the Mongols, but Russia coming and taking over this land is going to cause the end to the great pastoral nomads of this area. And they're going to force them to accept the Russian way of life. They're going to do Russian language, Christianity, and become settled communities, similar to how the Europeans did that to the Native Americans. All right, but this new wealth that the empire is going to get is going to lead Russia into playing a major role in becoming a great power. As Russia expanded westward towards Europe, they saw how far behind they were of Europe. Because the Mongols were ruling them, they missed out when the West went through those movements that you learned about, the Renaissance, the Reformation, the Enlightenment, scientific. They missed out on those things. So now as they got close to Europe, they realized that they were way behind them. And so they had to make a change. So first Peter the Great here, in 1689, he ruled from 1689 to 1725. He's going to be the first to start to westernize Russia. He's going to change their government. He's going to modernize their military, create a new education system. He even causes the people to dress more Western. He wanted them to shave their beards and change their style of clothing. And then Catherine the Great, who's his predecessor, she's going to even further it. All right, she's going to consider herself one of the great Enlightenment leaders. But clearly, Russia builds an empire just like Europe. The only difference is Russia went to surrounding areas where Europe crossed oceans to conquer people. But the similarities can clearly be seen with their conquest, their settlement, their exploitation of the people in the land, the religious conversion they forced on the people, and so those are the similarities. All right, so that's it for part 1. Part 2, we will go over Europe coming into the IOB, as well as China, the Mughal, and the Turkish Ottoman empires. All right, see ya.